Hello, my name is Santiago Geraldo, and my agricultural case study will be over food deserts. Um, what exactly is a food desert? Well, by definition, a food desert is an area, usually an urban or rural one, where the people living in it or the residents have limited access to affordable and nutritious food, which can be represented by something like this picture, where the only available food is the fast food, and everything else is too far away to access. Why is this important? Well, food deserts tend to lead to higher rates of obesity, diabetes, and other diet-related diseases. They're usually found in low-income communities and communities of color, creating a public health crisis, and also, they can deepen social inequalities. And just for historical context, food deserts were really started to become prominent and more visible in the 90s. A lot of supermarkets started to close around low-income areas because they weren't really making any money, and those supermarkets were replaced by a bunch of fast food chains and convenience stores, which are not, of value or nutrition to the people living in those food deserts. For the ESPN, E standing for economic, um, a lot of low-income residents have to spend more on poor quality food because they don't have, the funds to buy good organic food. Um, Health costs also rise due to diet-related diseases. Whenever you don't have the funds and you have to buy, unhealthy food, you put yourself at risk, and the only available options are fast food, and that's just going to continue to put you at risk. For the social aspect, it affects your energy levels. Obviously, if you're constantly feeding yourself, unhealthy food, it's going to show in your energy levels, which can affect students. It can affect their school performance, your overall quality of life, and your stress. Food becomes a source of stress and survival, and not something that, should be looked at as a cultural part. It should be looked at as something you look forward to. Now, food becomes a sort of stress. Politically, a lot of communities are just looked over because they are super run down. They're in food deserts, and it looks like they have no hope. So a lot of places like the one shown here they're just looked over. But with that being said, there is a lot of government plans and help and aid that goes out to such places. But things like redlining and zoning ordinances have really, upped inequality, and that's something that you can look back at as a political cause. And for the last one, the environment, there's been a reliance on, this is a big one, there's been a reliance on processed and packaged foods, which is really the only option that low income people in these food deserts have. And a overconsumption of this is just never good for you. Um, you know, there is also a big problem around these food deserts because there's no land, there's no farmable land. So it's pretty clear and obvious that if there's no farmable land around these food deserts, then it's going to be harder to get these fresh organic foods. Arguments for how we can fix it is, or what is already being done to fix it is, online food delivery services, things like DoorDash and Uber Eats. People say that these things are helping food deserts. If you can't go out and drive yourself, then someone can go and come and bring you the food. And a lot of people like to say that the reality of food deserts is that people need to take responsibility for themselves and say, hey, look, I'm living in this food desert, but I need to do something to try and get out of it. So those are some arguments for why they're prominent, and why and what caused them. Arguments against, arguments for against the food deserts is greed and corruption. The main reason why a lot of these supermarkets have left the food desert area is because they're not making money. So all they really care about is not the people, and all they care about really is making profit, and they weren't, so that's why they left. Just the inequality and social aspects of it, and as well as a statistic here shows that 1 in 6 children are food insecure in America, but 1 in 4 black children are insecure in America. So this statistic just goes to show how there's just been a systematic, almost racism in this food desert dilemma. What has been the world's responses and their solutions to try and help the food desert issue in America? Well, there's things like SNAP programs, which try and give people within a reach for healthy food. Community gardens are also helpful, can bring, a sense of community and, show people how they can grow their own food. And it could just be another healthy food source for the area. There's nonprofit organizations, and there's also been tax incentives that have been put on these grocery stores to, convince them to try and open in low income places so that these people can get better, more affordable, healthy food. My prediction is that if nothing changes, I think, health issues are only going to increase. But with the help of technology and these food services, there could be some improvements. So there is some hope. And at the end of the day, I think that healthy access to healthy food should be a human right and should never just be a luxury. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it is. If you don't have the funds, you're not going to get healthy food. So my final opinion is that access to healthy food is a human right and not a luxury. Here's just a quick 1 minute video of what a food desert is. So that's pretty much just a basic rundown of what a food desert is. And this is going to be my works cited page. I use the USDA Economic Research Service, Feeding America, the Food Trust, National Geographic, and the U.S. Department of Health and Services. Thank you so much for watching.